Oh, the nerdy Brit making Doctor Who content after about a month-long break. That sounds like the history of this channel. Hello everyone, I hope you're all well. Now if you're fans of the channel, well, firstly, if you're not fans of the channel, why aren't you? Click subscribe. I can't believe I've asked you to subscribe within 16 seconds of turning on the camera. But if you're a fan of this channel, you know occasionally I just enjoy sitting down and giving you a more waffly video. You know, I've asked the question many times, do you guys enjoy these videos? And people genuinely seem to, I guess because, you know, maybe you get a slightly more raw, a bit more me, and a bit less of the way docky woo, overly edited, overly presented stuff. And I think firstly, I always like to do these once I've like taken like a little break from YouTube, and I think I felt like I wanted to after Series 2, and especially, again, the reaction to the finale. Because, honestly, as I will get into quite a lot, let me do the parameters and let me tell you the slight things you need to know. Firstly, we'll talk about Doctor Who and my experience with the current state of Doctor Who. If you're looking for a positive space, I think this will be probably one of the most positive spaces for RTD2 on YouTube right now, which, you know, I'm not trying to be, you know, a promotey person. I say that after having asked you all to subscribe. But, you know, I genuinely feel like I am one of the people who's most positive about the era, for better or for worse. So we'll talk about Doctor Who first, and then we will do a couple of channel updates, because I do have a plan for the channel and keeping it burning. Keeping it burning, it's not doing that badly, but tush. Secondly, this one is immediately less important, but the window's open. So if you hear the occasional bit of street noise, or currently faintly there's some children shouting, which, you know, I guess I'm recording this on a Sunday, so, you know, I was about to say get in school, kids, but then it's a Sunday. That shows you how warped my, I don't really do the whole 9 to 5 thing. I have a very odd shift workery schedule. So, yeah, days of the week don't really tend to matter. But, yeah, so the window's open because it's Sunday, and if you didn't know, it's incredibly hot in the UK this weekend as a ginger. I'm dying. So, yeah, the window's staying open. Otherwise, you lot don't get this video. And you wanted this video, right? Because you're currently nearly 3 minutes into this. More full you. Docky woo. As I said, the reason why I probably took quite a long content break. I mean, I think, apart from that lovely podcast I uploaded with a very, very lovely, he was a very, very lovely friend and YouTuber. Please go watch that podcast, because I think he was great, and I'd love to get him back on again, actually. But apart from that, I kind of have taken a bit of a content break because, and I've said this before, I think quite recently, I think on Twitter I said it, the recent stuff has made me feel quite sorry for the people who really loved Jodie Whittaker, and even little bits like The Timeless Child. Like, as I said, if you've never seen one of these videos before, these are very waffly, and I go into very sporadic thoughts. Like, I think I'm a different person to how I was when, age-wise, when The Timeless Child and all that stuff came out. What, it was 2019? So that was, yeah, like 6 years ago. I'm a 17-year-old kid. And I think you probably have stronger reactions to certain things, Timeless Child. And look, I'm not saying I suddenly now like The Timeless Child, but I understand why people who got behind The Timeless Child and, you know, because, like, the Flux thing is a little bit different, because I just think Flux as a whole is a bad story and is why I'm against serialised. So what I'm definitely going to do, I'm going to tease some future videos. One of those videos is definitely going to be, should Doctor Who become serialised, should it become episodic? Because I actually think the main reason why maybe it should be serialised is the fan reaction to current RTD2. And I can explain a little bit more about that later if you'd like. But I think similar-ish things are happening with Series 12 and the current Series 2/Series 15 in terms of what was actually a pretty damn good season that preceded it was really soured in people's emotions by a pretty bad ending. And those endings are pretty bad for different reasons. I mean, in terms of the Timeless Child, the Timeless Child or Timeless Children, whatever that episode is called, is a bad episode. But the season that preceded it, certainly the first half of that season, obviously, you know, you have your Orphan 55, you know, like, that first, like, 7, 8-ish, even essentially the Cybermen, I think it was called. See, season 12 has a lot of strong episodes, and I think that made Jodie Whittaker fans really, I think, with this perspective, and as I say, I think it's really good for people's opinions to change, you know. The idea that you just have to stick by old opinions, I think it's rubbish. And I think, and this was probably maybe from me as well, some of the videos maybe I was making at the time, was I really making YouTube videos that much at that time? I don't know. But, yeah, I think that series got, in hindsight, probably got unfairly slated because of the Timeless Child stuff. And I think that's what's happening with Series 2. I probably think to a greater degree, because people seem to be really slating Series 2, whereas people were kind of, at the time, just slating the Timeless Child. They didn't really care about the season that preceded it. Whereas right now, and bearing in mind, again, this is my mistake, because I feel like I gauge my overall fan perception, and bear in mind, I get this is the hardcore fans, not like the casual audience, even though some people would argue, yeah, the viewing figures-wise, the casual audience isn't enjoying things that much. But the hardcore fans really hated, what's it called? It's not Empire of Death, that's Series 1. What am I talking about? The Series 2 finale, as you can tell, my memory is always so scatty when I record these videos. The fan reaction to that episode, because of some of the way, you know, it dealt with some of the reveals, and, as we said, some of that good, some of that bad, and obviously the rushed shoot. I think it really hasn't been helped by the rushed ending with Shooty, and obviously the reshoots that we know had to happen, and the Billie Piper stuff. One thing I do want to address is people saying they'd rather it be open-ended. Look, do I love the idea of Billie Piper being the new Doctor going forward? I don't know. It depends how they do it. I'm, to be honest, not going to judge something that I haven't seen yet. Unlike what some other fans are doing it, because some fans are setting themselves up for complete failure, where if it is the best thing ever, some fans will still complain because they have put their torches in the sand. Is that the phrase? They put their flags in the sand? They put something in sand and gone, we are just completely against Billie Piper. And the phrase I keep getting bandied around with is, the show is creatively bankrupt, and the show... People keep saying the show is so nostalgia-focused and it needs a new writer with experimental ideas. Now, we can have a debate as to whether we need a new writer. I think certain elements of RTD2 really haven't worked. But the idea that the show currently isn't experimental and isn't trying to do new and different things is completely bollocks, and is completely clouded by this idea that the show is being overtaken by nostalgia, which I think if you take out, because people only have one or two examples of this, and then they use other examples to say why the show is being crowded by nostalgia. And look, I don't think they're entirely wrong. Would I prefer them to go in a slightly newer direction? Yeah, probably. But people's main arguments is David Tennant coming back as the 14th Doctor, which I think people like to ignore the fact that that was for an anniversary special. So, yes, fair enough, maybe they should have brought back past old Doctors, but Jodie wanted to leave at that point. It's not fair. I personally think it would be really cool to throw Shooty into an anniversary special. So then, yeah, they tried to do something different. David, honestly, the 60th anniversary specials, for the most part, I think are great. I mean, I get it. I'm slightly stronger and slightly happier with the Star Beast than other people were. But overall, I think the anniversary specials are a very, very fun, solid group of episodes, and I don't really get why people aren't that fond of them. So that's the first example of nostalgia that I think is bollocks, because it worked. And then the other example people obviously give, that I think is probably the most valid example of the, the show lives in the past and all of that jazz, is Billie Piper. And again, it's tough to judge because we haven't seen it work. Look, would I? Yes, I would prefer the show to just cast a new Doctor and I'll just go forward. But the Billie Piper, we haven't seen it yet, so we can't judge it too much. That was a point I think I tried to make and then missed and got sidetracked in these waffly videos. People were asking for an open-ended regeneration. At this point where everyone is talking about nervousness about the show and the show's future and whether it's going to get cancelled, you think the talk about whether the show is getting cancelled is big now? If it was an open-ended regeneration, everyone would be saying the show is getting cancelled. Everyone. So fair enough, if Russel has made a mistake and Billie's kind of a stopgap and that was the best thing he could do, he's probably made a mistake in there of having that casting be so stopgappy. But this idea of going, oh yeah, no, it'd be better if it was open-ended, the amount of uncertainty that would be in the fandom right now, it would just be hell. No one would be able to stop talking about it. At least we have some form of certainty of where the next, what we're going to be following in the next, I don't know whether it be a Christmas special, whether it'll be a few minisodes, whether it will be an entire series, whether it'll be an entire era, but at least we have some form of certainty going forward. Now back to the nostalgia point, those are the two valid examples of nostalgia, and then people throw in ideas that, firstly they say the Meep and the Toymaker were nostalgia, bearing in mind you can't win with fans because fans will be up in arms if bearing in mind, I don't really count the Meep as nostalgia because the Meep's never appeared in the show before. The Meep was in a Tom Baker comic? Like, I'm not gonna lie, I'd never heard of Beep the Meep, and neither had the majority of the fan base before the Starbeast. So to retroactively say that's nostalgia bait is just bollocks. Obviously, the Toymaker, recurring villains come back in the show. And we'll get on to when some were used poorly and some were used badly, because I really do want to steer this into Series 2 chat and debriefing as soon as possible. I'm really not sure what I'm going to title this video. Doctor Who, let's discuss. Doctor Who debrief. Something pretentious with a D. Oi oi, classic. I just made a dick joke. But yeah, people trying to say, right, we should have had a... surely that's more interesting, someone like the Toymaker, than going, right, we got an anniversary special, let's bring back the Daleks, let's bring the Master, let's bring back the Cybermen. That ended up sounding like it was a diss on the Centenary. I actually really liked the Centenary. I think it was great. But the idea of going, yeah, the Toymaker, that's a nostalgia ploy. What? Basically, my long and short point about this is Doctor Who has recurring villains. That's part of the charm. I mean, I don't really want another Series 11 vibe where we just never do returning villains. It's always just one and dones. I personally, and bear in mind this is my channel, so I'm not going to try and make everything, one for the people. I'm sometimes just going to have my own opinions. I want recurring characters and recurring villains. And the idea, and to be fair, the Toymaker, who's in a first Doctor episode and acts as a completely different character in this new one, it's not the same. And it's not the same. And then people are talking about, right, we had nostalgia because there's Sutek. We've had nostalgia because there's Mel. I think the Mel thing, for example, firstly, you didn't criticise Sarah Jane when she was in RTD1. I think the problem with Mel is sometimes she's slightly underwritten. I think that gets to a genuine problem with the idea that, again, you can't win with Doctor Who fans because 8 episodes in a series isn't really enough to give all the characters you want to keep throwing in enough development and enough time in the story to work. But people would complain if there isn't a series every year because you can't produce a Doctor Who series and not have it be 8 episodes. You just can't make 13 episodes of TV a year anymore. That's just not how TV works because of the budgets and the scales and the levels that people want anymore. You just can't do that. So, yeah. But, yeah, so that's the slight problem with... I think it's more a problem with Mel isn't a developed enough character compared to... Mel is just nostalgia. You weren't saying that about Sarah Jane, so why is it now nostalgia when it wasn't nostalgia before? And then, you know, I think it's also about handling, because, you know, people have said Sutek is nostalgia, and Omega is nostalgia, and not gonna lie, I think it's more about the handling of those characters. If those characters were handled well, I don't think I see anyone calling the Midnight Entity coming back as nostalgia. No, they just had another story to tell about the Midnight Entity that ended up being a really cool Midnight sequel, and because it's handled well, no one calls that nostalgia. But with Sutek, who wasn't handled great, and certainly Omega, who was handled really badly, really stupidly, I do not get how... Sorry, I was just looking at my emails for a second, I don't know why. You're recording a video, bruv. Stay focused. I just bruved myself. What am I doing? Yeah, Omega was poorly handled, and I don't know why they did that. The other one people brought up is the Rani, and I think, yeah, you know, I quite like the Rani. I have my own the problems with the Rani, but the nostalgia stuff is weird. Yeah, let's talk about just the general reaction to Series 2, because it deflated me, and that's why I don't think I wanted to create videos in that space that was so volatile. It probably is a stupid decision, because that's when videos like that's going to get most interest. Videos like that right now will probably gain less interest, but, you know, game's the game. I'm not going to make a video in a period where I'm just not passionate about it. I'm just not going to do that. But... Now I feel like enough time has settled, and hopefully the reactions, they won't be. I don't know why I'm expecting Doctor Who fans to be calm, or rational, or reasonable, or just have a nice, respectful debate. Because I feel like a lot of the things I've just said, I feel like there's two sides to every coin. Like, in what I've just said, some people might find the Midnight Creature nostalgia, some people really might like the handling of Mel Bush, some people might, you know, think that Mel Bush is nostalgia bait and have a reason why Mel Bush is nostalgia, but Sarah Jane wasn't. People like, and you know, it's this idea of calling. I think people would have. This is my big point. People would have less of a problem with these characters if they were well handled. Like the Rani. People are saying, well, realistically, to the modern Doctor Who fan, who is the Rani? And you could, if you wanted to, make that a new character. But the problem is, if it's handled well and also happens to be the Rani, people enjoy it and people back it and people gain something from it because it's the Rani and it's a continuation of a character we've previously seen. Because it hasn't gone very well, people are like, well, why did you bring back the Rani then? You know what I mean? And I get Shooty's also asked for the Rani to come back, so maybe Russell wouldn't have just brought back a random time lady. I don't know. Russell's finales, as I've said, just don't quite work. But that leads me perfectly on to the next problem that I've had with just the recent reactions to everything, is that I genuinely don't think that the series that came before it has gained any respect. I mean, people are saying cancel the show because of that finale. People are saying that, you know, nothing that came before it is good because the finale lets it down. And I'm sat there thinking, hold on a minute. This is an episodic show. Like, let's go through this season and work out what episodes were good and what episodes were bad. Robot Revolution, I personally really liked. You know, I get it. It's a little bit controversial. Look, it's not getting a 9 or 10 out of 10. It's not. But it's a very, very good, solid 7, 8 out of 10 episode. Lux, utterly fantastic. The Well, utterly fantastic. Lucky Day, I get it. Controversial. Some people don't like it. But for me, amazing. Story in the Engine, fantastic. Interstellar Song Contest, iffy, but pretty good. Now, I get it. Then you go into the finale, and for me, Wishworld. And what is the finale called? Oh, it's completely Wishworld. Reality War. It's a war about realities. And by the way, I do want to say, overall for me, and I get this is controversial, yeah, Wishworld didn't work that well for me because it just never really goes anywhere. And I think I would have probably started to get people out of the Wishworld curse in Wishworld because, yeah, it was just a bit too much of a slow burn and nothing really happens. Reality War, I actually think again, you don't want to blame Shooty because it's not his fault. You know, he has probably been messed around by Disney and the BBC a little bit, and it's all a bit of a mess. And fair enough if he wants to go and pursue his own career and he can't wait around to do more. I get that, but I do think this episode would be being received a lot better if it was. We don't actually know truly what was cut. Maybe there was more Rani shenanigans, maybe Omega's role in it had to be cut. We don't know exactly what's been cut. And I actually think, not that I hate everything post-reshoot, I think the Jodie Whittaker 2 or 3 minutes is one of the most beautiful scenes we've had in Who for a while. It's why I love multi-Doctor stories, because it always just brings out the best in every Doctor. I love them. But that first 30, 40 minutes, until Omega crawls out of the cave and we do a weird thing with Omega. Bear in mind, we don't know what the plan was there exactly. Maybe something else was cut or something. But just try not to bend it too much. That first 30, 40 minutes until Omega crawls out of that cave, he's really good, exciting Who. And again, people talk about, oh, there's random characters there that don't need to be there. Mel doesn't need to be there. Rose doesn't need to be there. And I get it doesn't have the time that Stolen Earth Journey's End has to really, you know, bring these characters. But then, to a certain extent, in Stolen Earth Journey's End, Jackie's kind of there for very little reason. Mickey's there for very little reason. Like, there's a lot of those characters. Like, to a certain extent, apart from, you know, doing some early stuff with Luke, like Sarah Jane doesn't really need to be there. These characters don't need to be there, but they are fun, cool characters. And I just like think characters like Rose, like Mel, these characters that really flesh out Unit as they're just characters that are fun to see, even if they don't do that much. I get it. They probably don't do that much, but they're just fun to see in the same way that Jackie and Mickey were fun to see in Stolen Earth Journey. Well, they just appeared in Journey's End, didn't they? I read something the other day that apparently Russell had no idea. This kind of proves my point. Russell had no idea what to do with Jackie in that finale, but promised Camille that she could come back and therefore just found a way to get her in there. Like, but you can't, like, you know, yes, again, she has no real plot reason to be there, but it's fun to see her. And it's the same with these characters. But yeah, long story short, the point I was back to try making is, because, look, and I try and mellow because I think I might have made these points a bit too strongly, and I like, the way I sit there, worst case scenario, looking at Series 2 as a whole, and looking at how the finale affects previous things. If you liked, let's try and be completely honest about this in a worst case scenario. If you liked Robot Revolution, maybe you don't like it as much anymore because you're upset about the Belinda arc. I think that's the only episode you can get away with it because it's so Belinda focused and sets Belinda up in such a way that I don't think is mirrored very well in the finale. Again, reshoot, cut it a little bit of slack probably, but I get it. People may now not like Robot Revolution as much because of what happened to Belinda in the end as a character. I also think Lucky Day, if you weren't, this one's a bit more tenuous because I still think it stands up in its messaging and its intrigue, stands up in episodes as a whole. But if you're really, really trying to nitpick, and to be fair, people could probably nitpick this with others if they really wanted to be a bit of an arsehole, Lucky Day could be ruined for you by the finale, and if you didn't like what happened with Conrad, if you didn't think Conrad was which, to be fair, I think Conrad was probably underutilised in the finale, but I don't personally think... You know what? I'm not letting you get away with that. I think Lucky Day still stands on its own as quite a unique piece of content. The only thing that really links to the finale is Conrad exists as a character and Mrs. Flood frees Conrad at the end. That, who cares? And then, apart from that, what? You've got Lux, which isn't affected by the finale and is a fantastic episode. You've got The Well. People... I saw a tweet where someone said, and this is where, you know, the Doctor Who fans really just can't agree on literally anything, because someone said the best RTD episodes are like a mid Jodie Whittaker episode. And look, I ain't trying to bash the Jodie Whittaker era. I know which era I prefer. It's RTD2. I think RTD2 has had higher highs than the Moffat era as well. I'm going to be completely honest and say that might rub some people up the wrong way. I'm an RTD, but I think Moffat is... Oh, by the way, I think the Moffat era is overall better, but I think some of the highs we've had in RTD2 with episodes like Boom, The Well, some of the stuff in the 60th, I just love it. I just love some of that stuff. Just think about it. The Well isn't affected by the finale. If you loved if you love Lucky Day, as I've said, sod the Conrad stuff. Who cares? How does that sour it? If you loved any of the first 6 episodes, bear in mind, I get it. A lot of people didn't like Interstellar Song Contest, so fair enough. Take that as you will. The only episode, if you liked those first 6 episodes, bear in mind, if you liked those first 7 episodes, no, Wishful. Sorry, I'm confusing my point. If you liked those first 6 episodes, the only reason, the only episode which I think you have a genuine valid thing of saying, oh, I now don't like it because of the finale, Reality War, the only episode I think that's a valid point for is maybe, and even then I still think it works as a story on its own, and I do think you have to give some stuff to the reshoots, because I think the reshoots messed up the plan and messed up some of the arcs, and I don't think that was Russell's initial intention, so I do have some sympathy for him. Just like to a certain extent, I have sympathy for Chibnall and his dealing with Flux, because it was a COVID production. Even I still don't like the series, but I can have sympathy for that and empathy for that. Yeah. Rogue Revolution is the only one you can go, okay, I don't like that since the finale. The episodes 2 to 6, if you liked them before, I personally, and I'm willing to have a nice polite debate with anyone in the comments about it, I don't think anyone has a valid reason to say, oh, I now don't like it. It's the Series 2 revisionism, where we've had experimental episodes in RTD. I think that was one of the things I was trying to say. My God, these waffly videos are so jumbled up all over the place. That's the point I was making. Experimental Doctor Who episodes haven't been... This has been the most experimental era in the entirety of Doctor Who. Think about Series 1. Yeah, you had Space Babies, then you had God stuff, then you had an episode where he's entirely on a landmine, it's entirely set around that one landmine. Then you have 73 Yards, which is weird Welsh Gothic horror stuff. Then you have Dot and Bubble, which is an episode unlike anything I've ever seen. And then you go into Series 2, where you have episodes like Lux, which, you know, is just weird and wacky and different. You have episodes like The Well, which is just one of the scariest episodes of Doctor Who in a while, but in a style of horror I don't think Doctor Who has ever really done before, in kind of like the slow build into chaos. Like the slow build into chaos. If someone can think of a better example of the slow build into chaos, that's the best Doctor Who's ever done that, if at all. Then you got Lucky Day. Mental. You got Story in the Engine, which is pretty new for Doctor Who to genuinely try and go that deep and respectful into culture. Maybe Demons in the Punjab tried, but I think Story in the Engine does it better. There's so much cool experimental Who in this era that hasn't been done. This era is weird and wacky and experimental, even in... Because in a 13... Surely... the seasons beforehand, which have 10 episodes to play with, before that 12, before that 13, those are the series that probably had more right to be experimental, because Russell doesn't get the credit, I don't think, for the 8 episodes, because it puts him in a hole with character stuff. But somehow, when he has the least amount of episodes to do it in, he's still found slots for weird, wacky, experimental stories that have never been tried in Who. And I think he deserves some respect for that. I hope you could like see in that last clip me looking at the time and going, yeah, I'm timing this really, really well. And then I was like, wait, I've got more to say. Why am I trying to time it? Yeah, look, I've taken a couple of minutes away just because, you know, I needed some water if nothing else. Yeah, so I'm gonna switch this over to a quick bit of channel chat and then, you know, I'll let you guys go. But yeah, first of all, thanks for watching. I know I said this in like a previous video, but yeah, one of the other reasons why I make these kind of longer videos is because I am trying to get back on. I've got the subscribers, I just need to get my watch time back up because I'm so inconsistent. So yeah, some of the reasons why I do make these longer form videos is hopefully to boost that watch time up a little bit. So if you have watched this, thank you. If you want to go and watch like every single thing in my like YouTube catalogue, that'll be appreciated. I'm only joking. But yeah, let's talk about the channel for a little bit, because basically, long story short, if you don't know, I went over for work to Corfu for just under 2 weeks. I came back at the start of this month, and I've been invited to go back over the classic 6 weeks summer holiday. I won't give you too much. It's basically like an entertainment style job. That's what I do. That's what I'm trying to do. Yeah, I did a better explanation in like the I think it's called like I'm in Corfu life updates video. Basically, yeah, because I tried to make some videos in Corfu, but obviously I didn't have my laptop with me, didn't have a camera with me, so it was like one take phone videos, and I'm like, yeah, I get this is, to be fair, this is one take, so I've slapped wrist. But yeah, basically my plan is I'm gonna try and pre-record 2 videos. It's why, if the videos that come out over the next couple of months aren't feeling very topical, it's because from today I'm going to start pre-recording videos, and I think the plan is to lob them on a Wednesday evening and a Saturday evening. Just, I think those are 2. Everyone needs to pick me up on Wednesday. I'm the nerdy Brit, I'm like a ruddy party. So we're going to upload Wednesday, Saturday. I'm going to hopefully, if I have to like, maybe I don't have time because I leave, I leave in about 3 weeks. So I've got 3 weeks to make about 9 weeks worth of videos. So yeah, I do need, the plan is to like fully make like a video a day roughly, and then if I need to speed up or slow down by the end of it, I will. Or if I'm by the end of it and I still have more ideas, I'll just keep churning stuff out and then just adjust things. If I end up doing more like 3 videos a week, the schedule changes. If basically, long story short, unless it's a big news thing, if you see a video uploaded on like a Tuesday, it means you're getting a Thursday. That seems like the most logical. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. But don't count your blessings. This will go out next Wednesday. Because obviously I've also got to make content through this time, because yeah, I want to get back on the monetization thing. I want to keep the channel alive. Obviously, you know, we're getting to the war between the land and sea, and like I feel like overall the channel is doing really well, and we're building up a lovely, nice community. I don't know, I want to continue building it up, keep talking about Doctor Who, and keep spreading the positivity. There are a lot of the bigger channels are quite binary in their thoughts. I'm not going to name names because, I mean, not they watch these videos, but I think a lot of the channels are quite, you get the vibe of like, the old stuff's great, the new stuff, it doesn't work anymore. And look, I want to try and present what I will always try and do is I'll always try and highlight the positive, because the positive needs highlighting. And if I'm gonna make a negative video, I'd rather like do it as like this is what I'd want to improve. So for example, I know I want to do a video on the handling of Sutek and Omega, and going forward, why those specific examples didn't work, and what to change about them, and what to change about them going forward. I also, slowly throughout this period, I'm going to build my set, like here, so we might get some cool set stuff. And also, if you have video requests, sorry, I've been fiddling with the lens cap. I'm a bit of a, can't say I'm a bit of a fiddler because that gets taken out of context. But I don't know. I just like something going on with the hand, especially when like I sit down, like I want to be like I think I think I might go to the gym after this. I feel like I need a bit of a. I'm kind of like sat down, but I've got lots of energy, and it's a hot day. And my gym doesn't have any air conditioning where I live now, so it's gonna be tough. But you know what can I say? The gains don't come by them bloody selves. God, you absolutely cringe human being. So yeah, I feel really guilty as well because I went through a phase of going, oh, everyone give me video ideas, everyone give me video ideas, and now I'm pre-recording and bulking. I really need some videos. Like, please, if you have ideas and they're like, if you can think of ideas that are like not too niche. Because I know occasionally I get a video idea and I'm a bit like, that would interest you, and probably me, but I don't think it's going to, you know, I do to a certain extent want to appeal to the masses. But if you have video ideas, I don't know if you guys want tier lists, I think I can do a tier list. So yeah, we can do tier lists. We can do like ranking videos if you've got specific parts of things you want to like hype me to chat about. We'll do it. If you got Water in the Land of the Sea videos you want, Series 2 videos, RTD videos, Moffat, Chibnall videos, like if there are certain like little threads that I said in this video, it's probably because they're on my mind and I want to make a video about them. But there are certain things I said you want me to like do like a further expansion on. That would be cool. Like I don't know if people are interested in like a Chibnall, like my retroactive Chibnall opinions. Comment them down. Yeah, if you want to see them, comment them down below. I think I'm waffling for the sake of it now. I think yeah, I can let you guys go. Overall, let's just to summarise, in terms of Doctor Who, I'm I think I'm a bit deflated, but I think I'm a bit deflated by other people, not the series, because I think it's tough seeing what was overall such a really nice creative series. I feel like to a certain extent I'm mourning for what could have been, because I think if we got the original shooty happy ending, I think people would still be excited because Shooty's doing more, and we could have been past the Sun tabloids and headlines. I can't believe the Sun was right. That's really annoying. But if we could have just got past the tabloids and the headlines, and we had a bit of a happier ending that was the original vision, I think people would overall be so much more positive about the show going forward. And yeah, Billie Piper videos will come and little things like that. Thank you very much for watching. If you're here right now, it's because you're an absolute legend. Even if you just want to comment you stayed to the end, like, I'd love just to thank you personally in a reply. I'm amazing at replying. Something sarcastic if you're being a knobhead. Something really nice if you're there. Because it's nice to feel supported as a small creator. So thank you very much. Have a good one. Bosh. I don't know why I say bosh. It feels like a very not me thing, but like I quite like the deep gravelly bosh.